I'm Robert Clementi, the Chief Executive of TEN, the Education Network. Patrick Ellwood, the Principal of Clover Law, joined us in this edition of Law Bites and Taxbites. He's presenting a webinar as part of our current video webinar series on buying and selling a business. And his subject is drafting business sale clauses addressing tax and financial risk. Patrick, what issues do you deal with in drafting tax indemnities as compared to general indemnities?
Thanks, Robert. There's a few relatively unique issues around tax indemnities that really need to be tackled head on. One of the ones that sort of comes to the centre first and foremost is around some of the limitations that might apply to warranty claims. So with a general warranty claim for general issues, there's normally a time limit, which might be 18 months, might be 2 years. There's a relatively short window in which the buyer has to identify that issue, notify the seller and bring a claim. But with tax indemnities, it may not be the case that that is identified until, potentially many years down the track if it comes up in an audit 3, 4, 5 years later. So one of the big things is making sure that there is a significantly longer period of time in which the buyer can identify and notify the seller of potential tax claims compared to general claims. And then I'd say the second thing which is different is often the process which needs to be followed where there is a potential tax claim in place. So with a general claim, if someone turns up and wants to bring proceedings, for instance, and the buyer just defends those or takes whatever actions appropriate in the circumstances, and at the end of that, they bring a claim against the seller. But if it's a tax issue that's involved, then quite often there will be an entitlement for the seller to actually drive the defence themselves. So if you think about a scenario where, let's say, the company receives an audit notice from the tax office, and that audit relates to a period of time when the seller was running the business, instead of just letting the buyer go off willy-nilly and defend that however they like, we might actually have a process in there which says that either the seller can represent the company and defend the claim, or perhaps we say the buyer can defend the claim, but they need to consult with the seller and provide the seller with access to the responses to the tax office along the way to make sure that the seller is happy with how that's going. Because the last thing we want to do if we're acting for a seller is have a situation where the buyer just goes off and voluntarily discloses information that they didn't need to, which might give rise to some sort of tax liability that is ultimately going to sit back on the seller under a warranty claim. So those are a couple of the things which can be quite different when we're talking about general business warranties compared to tax warranties.
Patrick, thank you very much. That was really interesting. And for those of you who are interested in this, you can view more details about this video webinar series by going to our website, and you can also purchase the series online there. And I'd like to make the point that there are versions as well for both accountants and lawyers. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening.